And we're going to start. And welcome to the Marcus Allen Frishman Show. So, what's going on today? What's happening today? Tell us what's happening.
Well, we are here now live with Mr. Archie. I'm pleased to be here. Mr. Archie, of course, is the producer, director, my personal assistant, and the show is mine. What's up, Archie?
Hey, what's going on? Talk to me. What's happening? What's been new this week? What's happened in your world there? Any new? Tell me this here. The world seems to be a little bit on tender hooks with tariffs and other nasty things there. What is the sentiment? What's the sentiment in the world that you live in? What is the sentiment? Please tell me.
Well, are we actually about to talk about politics?
Well, I just want to know, because I'll be honest with you. I'm in Australia, and we have had ripple effect. We've had an election, and the left side came in. The right side was trying to align themselves to Trumpy a bit. And after the tariff and some of the disasters there, I got to be honest with you. Things are not good in the business world, okay?
Well, people don't understand the tariffs, but I will tell you this: I'm
not a tariff fan. I'm more of a freedom, a free trade.
The goal of the tariff is to have free trade. It's to have either no tariffs or equal tariffs. So the goal is noble: free trade, no tariffs. Donald Trump would tell you that. So. But let me say this. I am in the People's Republic of California, specifically the People's Republic of Los Angeles. And it is now the fourth largest economy of the world, meaning if it was a country, it would be the fourth financially, economically most powerful in the world. And that is massive. We are in California, in Los Angeles, in the People's Republic, as I like to call it. We are isolated from the fabulous benefits that are being bestowed upon our country now with reduced oil prices, gas prices, energy prices, food prices. Let's continue. The list goes on, not to mention drill, baby, drill. We're drilling oil. We're canceling the battery electronic movement. But without promoting Donald Trump, because even a gentleman like myself has to get past a lot of personal issues to support such fantastic policies from the Trump administration. We don't see that here in California because we are a leftist socialist society. Let me repeat it so you don't think it's cavalier. Leftist socialist society. From the city of Los Angeles to the county of Los Angeles, San Francisco, even the Sebastian of conservatism, Orange County, is moving vastly left and now is, we would call, moderate. So this is where I live. I have to get the hell out eventually and head to Florida.
Yes. I see. You had to get out of it.
Here's something much more important than all of that. I brought up from my vast collection of watches, because I know you're a man of watches and love watches. I brought what might be one of your favorite. It is one of your favorite. I can't tell if the watch I'm wearing is your favorite or the one I'm going to hold up is. You know this watch. This is the Moon watch from Omega.
Yes.
Now, Archie, you know these brands and numbers and model deviations. I think I bought this in 2005, 6, or 7 in a massive box, and it represented some massive anniversary edition of the moon launch. I don't remember what year because I don't have the box handy. I left it in the Philippines. You can travel with that box, but I bought it in the Philippines, and it is just a fabulous.
Do you use it? So that's a sapphire. That's a sapphire or plastic? That sapphire one.
Sapphire.
And it's got the display back, or what's on the back of it?
Display back.
Yes, display back. Sapphire. That's called the sapphire sandwich. Sapphire sandwich.
You know this watch? Do you know what year it was?
I think it'd be mid 2000s, 2006, something like that.
All right.
There.
It came with all sorts of extras. It came with a medallion. It came with a massively luxury box.
Yeah,
Archie, it came with a pen, an Omega pen. I'm trying to remember. I have some of those extras in the house. Yeah.
And you're wearing your beautiful gold sub there.
Yeah,
now.
I am wearing the most sought-after watch in the world, although those people that are less fortunate than myself would buy it in stainless steel. This is 18-karat gold. It is the Rolex Submariner, we call the Bluesy, and it is the 1991 year model. I didn't buy it in 91. It's one of the few pre-owned watches that I have ever bought. I'm a new watch. I buy watches, generally speaking, new. I have some exceptions to that buy new rule, and here it is.
That's absolutely beautiful watch that there. Now, I got to share a story with you. Can I share a story with you?
Go ahead.
So a friend of mine is actually dating a Filipina.
Oh.
He sent me some screenshots. I'm just going to look at my phone to get these screenshots. So he met her he said to her, he met her online, and he said, look, he would like to meet up. She said, let's meet at a tavern, a local tavern. He goes, I don't drink much. Do you drink? Because he didn't want to get an alcoholic Filipina who just wanted someone to pay his bar tab.
By the bar tab, yeah.
He goes, no, we have coffee or we eat. All right, okay. They set a time. He looked at the menu. He goes, he said, oh, they have delicious food. He had a look at the menu. She goes, oh, I don't know. I've never eaten. I don't know why she recommended. Probably just easy place to find. Okay.
Now, let's see. It's clear. She is in the Philippines, and he is now in the Philippines. In this.
No, they're both in Australia.
Oh, I got you.
She's lived in Australia for the last 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And anyhow, so they had the date. They had a meal. They had some lemon, lime, and bitters each. And let me just read you his correspondence with her. Hello. It was great to see you today. I'm a little disappointed that you felt washing the car was more important than spending more time with me. She said she has to leave because she's got to wash the car. Okay. At least I understand why I would never marry again. I'm comfortable, but I don't want to ever split my money again. He's a divorcee, okay?
I can see several mistakes already. Go ahead.
Okay, then she came out, laugh out loud. If I first meeting the person, I don't go stay with them longer. It's okay anyway. Anyhow, he came back. You also complain all the time. Food too salty. Very complaining. That tavern was your idea.
Who said that? The girl?
He said she was a bit complaining. Oh, the food's too salty or this or that. But that was her suggestion. Okay. Then she came back and said, what are you talking about? I'm always complaining about the food. Anyway, I don't like you. You so fat and ugly. Good luck to your search.
Well, like any, may I comment on that? Is there any more?
Can I finish what his reply was?
Please, there's a lot here.
So he came back and said, very nasty insult. I was only very nice to you, and this is the way you behave. You were so stingy. You never pay for anything. You could have offered to pay for the drinks, but you are too stingy. All you do is complain about the drinks I paid for. You always complaining. You are always complaining. Now I understand why your husband leave you. You complain too much. That's why he choose a new girl. He was sick of your constant complaining.
Okay.
So
Well, it's easy
mistakes.
to do a Monday morning quarterbacking. There's a lot packed in there, but let me provide some of my 4
Sure.
million viewer advice from TikTok at
Sure.
$6,000 a week, not to brag. Okay, so here's the problem. First of all, my mother told me, and I think I've mentioned this to you previously, Archie.
Don't complain. Don't
It's
whinge.
better to be loved than to be right. And
Yes.
unless this is something really critical, just go along. Say sorry when you're not. Accommodate a woman is so important if it's easy to do and it's not critical. And these issues, he should pray to God every night that he only has these types of issues to complain about in his relationship. Food, her not liking, too salty, whatever all that was. Because obviously they have a blessed relationship, but he's too negative. Now, you have to accept a woman for who she is. But I do always say, find a match. Find someone who's like you. Find someone who isn't going to be an opposite. Now, that's going to be a bit more boring, but I learned it suddenly with a profound moment in my life and about my last year of college when I decided to date people like me and not have contentious relationships, because pre-graduating college, I had contentious relationships, but they were long-term, but they were fun. No, fun is not a thing that moves a relationship along. So the other thing about this is it's never good to meet in a bar. It just isn't. And also, a gentleman pays for a woman, and it doesn't matter how rich she is or what her family stature is. A gentleman treats a woman, and that's just the way it is. And so I think your guy they were not obviously a match, but he could have given it another try.
Thank you, Sir Marcus. Thank you.
Now, you're the pontiff, but I am the love expert. Now, I have found love so many times, long committed relationships. As I say, I've been single only about 3.5 years since I've been 15 and a half. So I've been blessed. I have found a wife 5 times. And only
Can I ask you, why have you chosen celibacy since the early 90s? That is something that people cannot believe. They cannot believe this.
Well, we were going to talk about the salacious story of Eartha Sue Campbell, who was my last non-celibate relationship, which ended around 1991. I met her at Harvard. We lived together at Adams House in Harvard. And we had intimate relations of the sort that you're thinking every night. Every night, Archie. And I remember, I'm a big advocate of what you call protection, not having babies, not having I've never had casual sex. This was a serious love relationship. But we may have been shagging every single night. One night in a year that we were involved, 1.5, 2 years, one night she upset me. She did something wrong. I can't remember what it was, but I said, and she admitted her fault. And when you admit fault in my world, it doesn't get you off, it gets you punished. So if you do something wrong and you say you're sorry, that's an admission and that deserves punishment. I don't care who you are. So I punished her. I said, look, Eartha, you have to be punished. I'm going to have to send you back to your dorm. She had been living with me every night since 3 days after meeting her on the streets of Harvard, outside Harvard Yard. And she moved in, and something went wrong. And I told her, just go back to your dorm tonight and let's just separate. That will be the punishment. Is it acceptable? She said, no, it's not acceptable. Well, I had to take her bags. She had 2 bags in my house. I had to take them out and put them in the lobby of the Adams house, which was a Harvard residency. And then she said, "I'm going to jump off the Charles River Bridge." And she ran down to the Charles River Bridge. I had to run after her, hoping she wouldn't jump off. By the time but she did not jump, I should say. By the time, it was just drama. And by the time we got back to Adams' house, her luggages were gone. And it was all she had. So, of course, by now I'm saying, well, I'll pull out the credit card and let's go get you all new stuff. It's all my fault. And now I'm apologetic and I deserve some punishment. And that would have been buying her an entirely new wardrobe with my card, until a police came by and said they had discovered the missing clothing and so forth. And we collected it and she moved back in. But that was the one night that we did not have full sex. And of course, I define my abstinence as being the lack of full sex, but I've had ongoing, committed, long-term relationships since then. After college, 14 years, 4 years, 8 years, 4.5 years, 3.5 years, and I'm missing one probably, but that gets us to almost current. And in all of those relationships, the women have been virgins. Secondly, that made it easy. Secondly, they're like me, Archie. Remember, I said I picked women like me. So essentially, I picked women that didn't have high sex drives, that would not be demanding sexually. So between them being virgins, me picking someone like myself, we all chose to, and I say we, but one at a time, we all chose to be intimate in other ways beyond full sex. And those relationships I described a moment ago, by the years we were involved, 14 years, 4 years, 5 years, so forth and so on, they were back to back virtually, a few weeks of singleness. Every one of them I was engaged to. 4 of the 5 of them still wanted to marry me on the day I broke with them. But those 4 were in the Philippines, and they would not move to America for different reasons. They'd marry me, but they wouldn't come. Despite the fact when the relationship started, they said they would. I could explain each one and why each one had its reason not to come to America, but they would have married me there. They would have married me if I moved there. But I had to leave those 4 relationships. The other one, the 5th one I was engaged to, was 14 years. She left me. She got tired of waiting to be married. And she left me in 1993. And our relationship was fabulous until the final 6 months, when this ending was coming, because I would not marry her. I was not ready yet. We were engaged. She had a wedding dress. And I never pulled the trigger on the wedding.
So what happened to her in the end?
In the end, she married only a few years ago. And her name was Belinda. She married only a few years ago. And the year I broke up with her, I met her when she was in her last year of college. I'm sorry, was it? Yeah, her last year of college. And I had just graduated. And we were together 14 years. I lived in Calabasas. She essentially lived with me daily, but would go home to her family at night. We lived together over the weekends at my place. We lived very close together, and she was a career woman. She's doing very well. She has a nice 6-figure job in the state of Washington in the United States. But I went to the Philippines that year for the first time in my life, practically under gunpoint. I was forced. My boss said, "You must go. The president of the Philippines wants to meet with you." I explained in a previous video with you why I had to go to the Philippines. I essentially became California government liaison to the Philippines. They called me the real ambassador to the Philippines in front of the real ambassador one day. But needless to say, I did that for 5 years. And in 5 years, you develop a life. So I developed a life in the Philippines. I met a girl named Tessa the first couple of weeks on my first visit. And then we got serious. We were engaged. Tessa actually came to America on a fiancé visa after 3.5 years. She hated America. She didn't like it here. She loved me. She wanted to marry me. She went home. I went back to the Philippines, and I met through friends another young lady named Love. I was with Love for 8 years. Love lived with me. I live in the Philippines 3 to 4 months every year. That was our relationship. She wanted to marry me, but she would not move. She was immense in her career. I met her when she was 21. She became 28, 29 when we broke, and she was immense in her career, and she would never have that instantaneous success coming to America. So I pick strong, independent, powerful women. I don't pick them from poor families. And while she wanted me to marry, wanted me to stay there, we broke. Within days, I met a lady named Winkle. Winkle is still in my life. That is her picture back then. And Miss Winkle, let's go there. I have it right here. And this is Miss Winkle now. I have a picture now. And here's Miss Winkle. Here we are in the Beverly Hills Hotel. Well, I can't do that. How do we do this? Well, here I am in the Beverly Hills Hotel with Miss Winkle.
How do you know she stayed faithful to you all this time?
Who? Winkle?
Miss Winkle.
Well, I just do. Winkle and I were together 4 years. And she said when she graduated college, she would come to America. Maybe she would study, she would get a job, whatever. And she just said she was afraid to come. Would I marry her there? And I chose not to. We broke. Then I got involved with a woman named Shane. Shane and I stayed together for 3.5 years. And very similarly, a thing happened. She wouldn't live in America. I said, I can't have a part-time relationship. Now, I wasn't supporting any of these women. They are independent. They have their own families that support them, or they support themselves. And but they lived with me. I didn't charge them rent. So these relationships lasted a long time. Each one ended. And then a couple of years ago, I got a text message from Winkle. And she said, Marcus, I'll be in California. Can we meet? We did. So our status is kind of together again. She's transferred from Los Angeles to Florida. She got a job here. She came for the job. And quite a nice job. And she's transferred to Florida. And I am thinking about retiring in a couple of years and going to Florida.
Do you think you would ever consummate the relationship if you did get married?
Of course.
See, a lot of people would say that that's quite unnatural, that you have no desire to have relations with women folk.
Well, I have relations and intimacies with women. We don't have to, you know, in my
use the Bill Clinton definition.
Well, I prefer to use something more gentlemanly like bases. Bases. Do you remember bases?
Yes. First base, second base, third base.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we hit the bases. And
there's that Gleason comedy. He's on first base. Remember that?
Yes. Yes. And if it was a problem, it would be a problem, but it's not. So there you go. I have never been sexually driven. Now, I'm somewhat different from most men on many levels. You know, I know the contents of shampoo bottles. When I was in college, I met girls by doing their nails. I learned how to do nails, and that's how I met women in college. I taught myself how to, I got my nails done every week for years in college. I still get my nails done intermittently, professionally, and I learned how to do that. And I thought this would be
that was Abbott and Costello, Arch. Thank you. Abbott and Costello. First base, second base, yes.
A great way to meet women. Here's the best advice I can give a college bro. Learn how to do nails. And it will help to learn how to do facials. And I did that for girls on campus. And that's how I met them. Of course, as I say, no casual relationships, dating, and for the goal of finding a committed relationship. In college, I had 2 significantly committed relationships during the 5.5 years I studied.
I have some follow-up questions from the stories you've told us there. You told us that your parents decided to disinherit you and moved on. Wait,
Well, clarify, not disinherit. They cut me off from active.
were you able to get that income stream restarted?
Never. My parents cut me off in that 1991 year when I left college. I said, well, I got into Oxford and I wanted to go to Oxford.
Did you have brothers and sisters?
I have two sisters. And in the summer, I
Are
wanted
they
to
biologically related to your parents or no?
Yes, they are.
Did you inherit anything from your parents on their passing?
Well, yes, but nothing to. I like to
Nothing
say
of value.
as my sister said, you got yours while they were alive. So when they died, my sisters took the sums, and I never fussed with it. I got a small check, but no, I didn't receive any inheritance. And
Was it enough to pay for a BMW?
No.
Tires for a BMW?
Yes.
Winter and summer, or just summer?
I would say winter and summer, but definitely not a condo in Palm Springs, California, like I've so desired since my parents retired to Palm Beach, Florida. My parents retired to Palm Beach, Florida in 91, 92, and they cut me off. And that put me in a bad position because I was trying to get into Oxford and the University of Pittsburgh cruise ship. I wanted my 5.5 years of college to be 8 years. And they just said no. So I got a job at a dating service, made $12 an hour. Not bad back
Tell
then.
me this. Your parents were very upper middle class, or even what class would you say they were?
They were upper middle class or lower upper class. I mean, we lived.
They made their fortune via.
I wouldn't say they made a fortune. My dad worked hard, and he earned every penny of his income, and he was a quiet man. But no, I didn't. I had to eventually support myself. I got Archie. 1991 was a bad year for me. That was the year that I rented the car, paid part of it, didn't return it. And in California, a legal possession of a vehicle that gets revoked by the bank or the rental company becomes a misdemeanor. I pled no contest to a misdemeanor back then. The charges were eventually dropped and erased by the judge, and the sentences were suspended. But the point is, I did what I did. I also was evicted, Archie. I lived in student housing, and I did a full jury trial on my eviction. I almost won. Almost doesn't count in courtrooms, and I was evicted. And I
for lack of rent payment.
Yeah, because the rent got stopped. Everything was put on my American Express card, and everything was paid by my family, and everything. So, I couldn't pay the dry cleaning bill. Everything just.
But you couldn't expect the landlord to cover your bill, could you?
I went to the landlord, Miss Morrow. I'll never forget it. Sweetest lady. When I had her on the stand in the jury trial, because I had some defenses. I argued that I was not the responsible paying party. I was not the tenant. I had some constructive tenancy because I lived there, but I never paid them. I never signed the contract. I offered to pay moving forward, but she said under California law, you can't allow that to happen or you're out the rears. So she chose to take it to court. When I had her on the stand, I said, Miss Morrow, who is your favorite? Because I knew the answer for reasons I won't explain, but she did it. She said, Marcus, you were always my favorite tenant until you weren't, and poor old Miss Morrow.
Would you have ever had a relationship with Miss Morrow if it solved your housing crisis?
No, I was in my 20s, and Miss Morrow was like a grandmother figure.
I repeat the question. Relevance, Your Honor. Would you have entered into a relationship with Miss?
No. I'm not believing of sexual favors to gain profit.
Well, we've had many hobosexuals on the show who have done that.
Yeah, I got a job, Archie, a low-level job at a dating service. It was the most rewarding job I've ever had in my life.
If she asked you to leave, why didn't you just leave instead of taking her to court?
The process, it became legal. She gives you 3-day notice to pay or quit. I couldn't pay. And then 3 days pass. She has a duty to file the eviction. The eviction will have you out in a matter of days if you don't challenge it. I challenged it. And then you're not generally entitled to a jury trial, but I finagled it and I got a jury trial, and it lasted 9 days, and they were in there for 6 hours. And as it turned out, I know some of the dynamics. I was short 1 vote on that civil case, and I lost. But I had.
So then you moved out. You vacated.
I vacated. I had a defense. I didn't sign the lease. I never.
And when your parents cut you off, did they give you a bit of money to help you find a new place, or just?
That's what I said to my father. Why didn't you hand me just $50,000 and just say, you got 6 months, have at it? Instead, here's what they did. They cut me off from contact. They moved out of California without me knowing it, although I knew a move was planned. And it wasn't about love. I had wonderful parents. I had a good relationship with them. It was all about money. My budget was $4,000 a month in college, and I was spending $8 and $10 sometimes. So, they just said, that's it, tough love. I think my mother may have coined that term, tough love. Off to Palm Beach. I got a job. I rented a guest house near Calabasas, California. And I was with Belinda, my girlfriend, at 14 years, starting that relationship. And then very quickly.
Now, I think, can I just say something? I just want to, this was 1991.
Yeah, 91 to 92.
And you honestly thought your father should give you 50,000? That's like equivalent today of like 200,000.
All right. Well, let me put it this way. The only
Wouldn't
thing
you have said, well, how about 10,000? Wouldn't 10,000 be more sufficient?
No, I couldn't pay my current American Express bill with $10,000. So you have to take perspective here.
Yeah, but you were never the card holder. You were a supplementary card holder, weren't you?
The card was in my name. That was the other problem. We'll go to that. So the card and a few other cards from American Express were all in my name. They were been paid for all the time.
So when you defaulted, how did
I had to? Well, I didn't use credit. The American Express cards were paid in full every month, and then they weren't. And suddenly, in this month, I wondered why. I saw it not getting paid. At some point, I realized, I was told what happened. I won't go into the personal thing, but the point is, I learned I was cut off, and I just stopped spending. I got a job. I moved. I was able to stay 9 months at that residence. That's how long it took for the trial to begin and for me to lose the trial. And then
how did your relationship with American Express go? They're quite understanding people, aren't they?
Well, I filed bankruptcy. The bankruptcy was a few $100,000.
How did they tell you to stop using the card?
I didn't file bankruptcy, I should say, to protect any assets, because I had nothing in my name. I filed the bankruptcy to discharge the debts under American law.
You owed how much on American Express? 200. How much?
Well, there were several accounts. Remember, I had to pay Miss Morrow. I had to pay the rent. It all added up to a little over a couple $100,000.
A couple $100,000? Seriously, are you for real?
Yeah, and I thought, well, it's public record. I filed a bankruptcy in 91, and it was.
How much did you owe? How much were you spending?
I was spending between $6,000 and $10,000 a month, and then there's
in 91.
Yeah,
that's a phenomenal amount of money.
Archie, right now that well, I went to Harvard, I went to Yale, I went to Pepperdine, I went to Moore Park Community College. I was at USC at the time. I graduated USC. University of Southern California now is like almost $100,000. Back then, it was about $7,000 a semester for classes, as I remember, and about an additional $2,000 for the food supplement that I rarely use because I dined out at the Hilton every night. And then there was I'm just trying to remember. There was, I had expenses. They were monthly.
Were you ever at the Hilton and they said, "Sir, your card is not working"?
I want something clear. I didn't have debt. I had bills, and they were paid in full.
Tell me this: did you ever have a situation where they said, "Sir, this card has not worked"?
That's how I learned. that was actually the first indication. I did a routine transaction, whatever it was, I can't remember. Food.
Was it embarrassing?
No. You get declined when you use a card as much as I do. You get declines frequently for a variety of reasons: fraud, alleged fraud. Certain things triggered. So a decline didn't surprise me. But then I called American Express, and they said, "Well, your bill wasn't paid." Oh yeah, that's no problem. I'll get that paid. They removed the hold and they let me keep using the card. Obviously, it was a platinum. It was a platinum American Express card, so I had great latitude with American Express. They let me use the card. I'll tell you what I didn't do, because there's gonna be a lot of criticism here, a lot of criticism. But I'm gonna, I say the good, the bad, and the ugly. I tell the truth. Here's what I didn't do. When American Express said to me, "We've reactivated your card. We understand." I was a good card holder, obviously. I had a $75,000 credit line on that particular card, which was quite low, actually, for platinum cards even back then. But I was a student. They know my status. Somebody's paying the bill. But I never used a credit line. I just used the card, paid in full every month. I did not go out and cash out that credit line of $75,000 or any amount. That's something I didn't do. When I was cut off, I stopped spending. But I will tell you, I had a problem. There's something called food. I had to buy it. All right. So I went to a close friend and I got a little money to keep me going until I could get a job. I got a job pretty quick. I went into this dating service called Great Expectations. They hired me as a matchmaker. I worked there a year and 2 months, and then I had renewed the relationship with my family by then, and my father and mother said, "You got to get a real job. This is ridiculous." And by then I was out of school. So I said, "All right." So I got a career job with a man that may be on watching us tonight. Back then, that was 1993. I got a career job with a medical corporation as an administrator. Running the corporation. I wasn't particularly qualified for this because I was political, but both before and after college, I'd worked for elected officials. I worked for a city councilman as an aide. I was appointed by the state legislature as an aide. I worked in Washington, D.C. for a member of Congress. I worked one day at the White House. That's a great story. I quit. And I ran California's largest agency as a constitutional officer. A constitutional officer, there's 14 jobs in the California Constitution, 14 of them. One's the governor, one was mine. Some are appointed, some are elected. There's 14. And I ran what essentially is the largest agency in California and the third largest agency in the country as an independent appointed official. That was my last political gig. I served as a consultant to the California legislature to fight fraud. It was called the Subcommittee on Border Crime. And we fought fraud long before Donald Trump thought about it. We thought border fraud in California. And I was the lead staff consultant to members of the legislature on that. So I have been a career political appointee. In 2010, I opened my new company called the Marcus Allen Frishman Group, team of attorneys, CPAs, and lobbyists, because I have no credentials. I'm just a former political aide. But my team of attorneys, CPAs, and lobbyists, we get people out of trouble. The truth is I do all the work. I use their credentials and their bios on my website because I have none. They are my advisors. The clients hire me and I do all the work. With one exception, my CPA, I don't have that skill. So often I have to bring him into the deal itself. But
Tell me this.
Clients,
from when your parents cut you off, how long was it before you got yourself into a BMW again?
Oh, immediately. I was in a BMW convertible, a red one, as soon as I got the job with the medical group after the dating service, which was about 1 year. So about 1.5 years after what my friends call the Regal debacle. That's what's it's been nicknamed amongst my friends. Marcus's Regal debacle occurred in 1991, where his parents left for Palm Beach in a flurry. There's even a poem about it. But I only know the one line. They left for Palm Beach in a flurry. But anyway, so I got this job, and then my father did have to co-sign. He co-signed for me to buy a BMW convertible, brand new. That was my next car at that point, and I
So
paid.
he did
I had to pay
co-sign.
that $499 a month for 4 years. I sold it and got a new BMW. I sold it and got another BMW. I sold it and got a Mercedes convertible. I sold it and got a Porsche, and then I bought.
That was the worst. What was the worst car you lost money on? The Mercedes.
The Mercedes, because I was in government service and I had no deductions. So all of those cars, what I did was initiate a lease. I bought them with a lease, and then I leased them, and then I converted the lease to a purchase. So I bought them during the course of the lease, and then I sold them all within 3 to 4 years and bought a new one. I wanted a new luxury car. So I've had 6 Porsches since then as well. I'm on my 6th, and it's a lovely 911. But I love cars. I'll tell you the car that you said to me, look, Marcus, why did you ask for $50,000? I never asked, and doesn't that seem like a lot of money? Get $50,000 from your dad and then get cut off. I will tell you, it's because my father and mother gave me anything I wanted, but for the Ferrari I asked for when I was 16. I still dream about this Ferrari, and I have a lovely picture of it. I just took it now. Here it is. Take a look at this, Archie.
Well, that wouldn't have been around. That's a California or a Portofino.
That's a current car. I don't know what's happening. I can't get it to take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. My first car my dad bought me was a ZX. That was a hot car back then when I was learning to drive. And then he bought me a Triumph TR7 convertible when I was done with my ZX. It was actually a Z, a 260Z. Then the Triumph, then a ZX, 280ZX, the anniversary edition I owned. And then the Triumph TR7 convertible, a design way ahead of its time.
Yes. I see what you're saying. It's a good idea. You had a Triumph TR what? 7?
TR7, a gold one.
Oh, fuck. You had a TR7?
Yes, a gold. As
they flopped in America. They flopped in America, you know?
Well, Archie, let's put it this way.
They had the houndstooth interior, the checker cloth interior.
Houndstooth interior.
Yes.
Okay, so, but this car was so fabulous. He had a problem, Archie. The problem was it didn't run. It was brand new. At 22,000 miles, I had to get a valve job on warranty.
Yeah. In warranty or outside warranty?
A valve job at 22,000 miles. The car was a flop. So I would be pulled over by the police constantly because the lighting system, the lights went up like this, but the lighting system would break. And then it wouldn't go off. And I would be driving around with lights that would flip like this, on and off, on and off, on and off, because they had the canisters that would go up and they'd be on, but not mine. And so I was constantly having this problem. And then they would break. And it was a simple fix. I'd take it to the local Triumph dealer in Los Angeles, San Fernando Valley, and he'd fix it. Some sort of gizmo attachment that would just burn up and break, and then it would cause the lights to. You couldn't turn the light off even with the engine off. It was just terrible. The car finally was stolen in front of my house. One day I woke up and I went out there and it was gone. The second stolen car that I've been associated with, because I also had, I forgot something. I said my first car was a Z, but it wasn't. My father bought me a brand new Camaro. That was the hot car, but I only had it a month before it was stolen. It was orange, an orange Camaro. Whatever. But he felt sorry for me and gave me an upgrade with the Z. A Nissan Z, Datsun Z at that time.
Amazing stuff. And Jesus Christ, you had some interesting life experiences there. You know, the TR6 before the 7 was a much better car because the TR7 was a 4-cylinder car.
Yes, it was. It got
They were
great
very wedgy.
I believe there was a TR8, Archie. But look,
The TR8 was a convertible version of the TR7, but
no,
by that,
hold on. Mine was a convertible, the TR7. Yeah, mine was a convertible.
are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, I'm sure. And I have a picture of it. You know, I took a real photo, and I have it here somewhere. If I can find it, I'll show it to you.
Because they were quite rare convertible versions of the TR7.
Yeah, no, it's a convertible. Look it up. It's there. Yeah, well, I won't be able to find it fast. Sorry to say.
No, that's okay. Don't worry about it. I believe you. We believe you. No one would lie about having a TR7. We can certainly assure you of that. Nobody. My friend in school, his dad had one, and his dad had an affair, and
it's not actually a dad car. I don't know.
No, but it's an affair car. It's a cad's car. It's a car for a cad.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a buddy in the neighborhood who had the exact same car. I think his name was David Dubell. I almost hate to say his last name, but I haven't.
Oh, AD Never Calling said the TR7s came in convertible, but the TR8 was exclusive convertible. And actually, the TR8 I think had a V8 in it. I think I'm not 100% sure on that, but the TR7 was a 4-cylinder car. It was very underpowered, and
well, Archie, it was very light. And also,
they built a special factory for them at Speak. They were built in a place called Speak in the UK.
I did tell you that I currently own a 1997 BMW that I bought new in San Diego, yes. And I drove it as my primary car for almost 4 years. It's in my garage, and until recently, it has been not a daily driver, but I mean the dog car. I take the dog out, and it's a convertible. And I showed you a picture of it, but what I wanted to say was it's a 4-cylinder.
That's a 318.
Yeah. Very efficient. 36, 37 miles to the gallon, 38 miles to the gallon. Excellent.
So I've got to show you, show you some watches. I just got a watch for my wife. I'll just show this watch to you. Tell me what you think of this watch as a curator of style.
I have a Cartier Moonface Santos 18 karat gold. I know
that was your first. Yes,
first
this is a
graduating.
This is a Cartier Banois. This is called.
Is gorgeous. This is a gorgeous watch for your wife.
Yeah, it is a beautiful watch. It is quite lovely.
Does she have the tank? The tank watch?
No. This is the only gold Cartier. Only Cartier she has.
Have you ever owned the tank watch?
She had a Tank Francais, but that was stolen, unfortunately. Gotcha. But yeah, no. That's very, very good there to see.
And of course, I'm sitting next to two fabulous classics that I have with me.
Yes, show us the classics. You got the Sub Sea Dweller, Deep Sea,
which is the Submariner on steroids, the blue face, the James Cameron version because of the movie.
Yes,
and we have the original.
The Blank Pane.
Sorry to say, the original diver watch that likely, Archie, you'll know the story better than I, Cartier copied. I mean, I'm sorry, Rolex copied to make theirs. But there it is, the Blank Pane.
And tell us this, out of those, you've got 3, and you're also wearing the solid gold Submariner. Those are 3 dive watches. And you've got the Tudor and the Pelagos. You really love dive watches, is that correct?
Dive watches are my favorite. Yeah, I like the.
Could you wear any of those watches with a suit if you were going out?
I could wear.
Definitely.
I could wear none of them with a suit, but this one.
Oh, okay. Has the gold sub been recognized when you've been wearing it?
Yes, it's recognized. Now, you know, we have to be careful now. The last few years in Los Angeles, people are getting robbed on the street of their watches. And I know 3 people who have been robbed of watches. And I think they were all Rolex. So we have to be careful now what we wear. I buy a lot of independent watches brands. Like I think I told you about the Weiss brand, made in America in the Los Angeles factory. And Mr. Weiss is just some rich guy that likes to make a watch. I'll wear a watch like this out if I go into, you know, downtown Los Angeles or on the west side of Los Angeles. So I'm not a target, because what they do, there's a thing. They find you, they spot you at a restaurant, at a store, and then they follow you. And they have somebody in a car that is nearby that they tell to come close. So when they get the watch, they jump into the car and off they go. But Archie, I carry protection, so they won't be getting my watch. I dare them to get my watch. It won't happen.
My God, that's a horrible story. You got to be so careful these days, don't you?
Well, I'll give you the more detailed version. My clients own the flower shop, Sean and Dial. They were shopping in Beverly Hills. They were spotted, and this was all determined by all these video cameras that caught the thief following them, then the thief's car circling, and then they get to their vehicle where their dog is in the car, and they get to the car, and 2 of 3 young men pop out, hold guns to their neck, and say, "Give us your watch." And when one of them rose the hand up to give the watch, the thief was just yanking at it and couldn't get it undone, and they were very scared and terrified. The thieves were, more than my clients, Dial and Sean, and they said, "Wait, you're going to break it." I remember Sean told me this. He told the thief, "Wait, you're going to break it. I will take it off for you." And he took it off and handed it to him. They wouldn't be so lucky with that encounter with me, but you know, I'm a risk taker.
Wow, that's a very scary story there.
They lost their watches, and a dear friend of mine, Travis, who has a connection at one of the Beverly Hills stores, helped them get another one. You know, so their watches have been replaced. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty sad story, really, isn't it? Don't you think? That's just
it's terrible. It's terrible.
Things can happen like that. It's not.
I told you my father got me the Cartier Santos 18-karat gold moon face. I showed it to you last time.
Yes.
I used to wear that every day for a decade until I became a watch collector. I wore it everywhere.
So were you wearing that when your parents were you wearing that watch when your parents decided not to fund you anymore?
Yes. I already had received the gift. Yeah. I didn't.
No. I'm saying, were you wearing it when you received the bad news that funding?
Yes. I wore it every day.
Turned down.
I never took that watch off. I swam, unless I had to get a battery. It was a battery watch. I swam with it.
I know. Actually, I have owned that watch in two-tone. I've owned that watch in
watch
two-tone.
I saw.
I have actually owned.
I saw it auctioned off during COVID for $14,000. I believe my father paid I got a discount from Cartier in Beverly Hills. So I may not be remembering the retail price, maybe remembering what I paid, but I paid $13,000 plus for that. But let me tell you something. I remember they made an automatic version. They made an automatic version. And in 1990,
but the moon phase was only ever quartz.
Yes, true. But I was holding both versions, and I had to make a decision. As I recall, it was $300 or $400 more money. And I remember saying the foolish thing, why would anybody pay $300 more for this thick, bulky watch when I can have this nice, slim one? And the nice Asian lady at Cartier, who's been the manager for decades, said to me, well, it's a matter of choice. And she explained the beauty of an automatic, and I didn't understand it in 1991.
Yeah.
I bought the wrong watch. Yeah. Although it's still a collector's.
The moon phase is still okay. Moon phase is still cool, don't you think?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. The moon face was mistakenly replaced by Cartier, and they tried to bill me $4,700 for it. I just went in for a battery. It's a great little story. I think I told
Yeah,
you.
you know, they're never really waterproof. I must tell you, they really are not waterproof.
This
Okay.
one was.
No,
I've
it's
been.
not. It's no, but hang on. Just no. The problem with you is you don't listen. It's not. It's water resistant, but it's nothing like a Submariner or your blank pane is water resistant.
Of course not.
And if it was so water resistant, how the fuck? That's the reason why they wanted to bill you so much, is because water had gotten in. Do you understand that?
They didn't. They described this error they made of replacing it when I went to get the battery as the moon face was being shaved. They said, I remember her. She said, you know, your moon face was being shaved. It's a gold moon, right? And as it was rotating, it was wearing out. I was aware of that wear out, but I didn't do any inquiry. She said that was the reason, but who knows what they did. I did get a new. It was about 1994, 95. I got a new face for it, and it's been fun. And I put it down in 2005 when I bought my first Rolex from Polachek Jewelers in Calabasas, and I just kept buying watches. I have over 100 watches.
Yes. Yes. Oh, you have over 100 watches.
Yeah, Archie, I never ask you a question. I have a question for you.
Sure.
So
ask me anything.
I watch a lot of watch. You know, you're the pontiff. You're the original guy that I watched, but I've watched them all. And it seems to me there's a pattern with collectors that doesn't exist with me. And I wonder about it. So collectors, they have 8, 10, 15 watches, and they trade and they sell one and they buy another one. And regardless of income status, they don't do it, it seems to me, because they are short of funds. They do it because they want to have a concise collection of limited watches. I have only sold one watch, and it was a trade-in to buy another watch. And it was a Rolex bubble back. I traded it in for this watch at Polachek Jewelers. So why do people not just keep accumulating watches? What is this limit that exists?
Oh no. But believe you me, money is a money is a big motivator. The funding on this stuff here. Believe you me, people don't have. They definitely do not have unlimited funds. Okay, I can certainly tell you that they do not have unlimited funds. That is for sure. They definitely do not have.
I have a rotation of about
unlimited funds.
15 watches that I wear, 15 or 20 that I wear regularly. But there's only one arm that I wear a watch on. Sometimes I wear 2 watches, and there are only so many days of the week. There are a number of watches that I don't wear. I buy them, I'll wear them 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, I'll put them down and never wear them again. But I enjoy something, and I wonder if you experience this. I go to my watches alone. I put them on the table. I clean them. I wind them. I look at them. I put them back. And I don't wear them. I enjoy just touching them and looking at them.
No, that's, well... Oh, well, there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, look, whatever, it's your stuff to do whatever you want to do with your stuff. You know, nobody can tell you what you should or shouldn't do. I mean, that is your stuff. You know what I mean?
Back to fountain pens, Archie.
By all means.
This is a Sailor. A beautiful Sailor fountain pen. It is one of my best writers.
Actually, it's funny you say that. Have you heard of? They got the Sailor King of pens, the Sailor
Yeah.
King.
Yes.
I was talking to a friend of mine this morning, and he actually mentioned the Sailor brand, and they
I
are
have
apparently
two sailors,
incredibly.
and they write. They just feel great when they write. I've forgotten by now what this one's called. I have so many pens, I have to separate them from their boxes and put them in pen holders. But it's a beautiful pen, and if anybody, and it's not a very expensive pen. This is not an outrageously pricey pen. This pen may be maybe $300 or $400.
Yes, beautiful pen.
Unlike this pen.
Marcus, Marcus, we have reached our time limit, and I must say it's been an absolute honor having you. Unfortunately, we did not get any super chats today, but that is the way it goes in the land of the big smoke. But Marcus, will you join me again next week? I really enjoy these shows.
I am here for you, Archie, every Saturday, 6:30 Pacific time. And we never did touch on a couple of subjects. We were going to talk about ladyboys.
Yes.
And I think we should talk about face care products. Let's leave that as a hook.
We'll leave that as a hook. Okay, Marcus, thank you so much. I'm going to run an outro, and we will see you next week. Thanks, guys. Hey, thanks for coming.